In this movie, we're going to take a look at some additional capabilities of the Marquee title tool, including working with edges and surfaces, performing some simple 3D work, looking at basic lighting, and a very brief introduction to animation. So I am in Media Composer, and I've got my title in my sequence here, and I want to modify it in Marquee, so let me show you how to do that. I'm just going to park on it and open up the Effect Editor, and then I'm going to click on this button here, Edit Title. And Marquee opens up. Now there are lots and lots of windows and tools that you can use in this program. If you take a look up here in the Window menu and Properties, each one of these is a treasure trove of adjustments that you can make to your title, and we're going to be exploring some of these. The first one I want to open is the Surfaces Properties window, and I'm going to just click on my hot glass text, and you can see here what we're talking about with surfaces. Now we're going to be working on this in conjunction with the Edge properties within the Quick Titles Properties window, as well as the Effect properties down here. So I'm going to come over to my Quick Title Properties window and check Change Edge Properties. When I do this, I have the ability to add an edge to my text. So I'm going to come down here to Effect Properties, and under Type, you can change it to anything you want, but I'm going to change it to just Flat Border. And you can see here that it adds a white border around my text. So I'm just going to change that from white to black. And you can also increase the size. So under Effect Properties, I'm just going to bump this up a little bit, like so. And now you can see in the Surface Properties window that my edge has a black color. So my main surface is still this gradient color. My edge is black. So we're going to make some changes here, but I'm going to go back to the main surface by clicking right here. What I'm going to do for this is check Enable Lighting. And now you can see that the gradient looks a little bit different, and that's because I now have specular and emissive lighting properties, and I also have shininess here. So you can actually change the colors here, which are your bright and dark values with lighting adjustments. And so I'm just going to change this to a lighter yellow color here. And you can see here as I increase and decrease the shininess, my text kind of changes. Now this is going to make a little bit more sense when we start adding lights to our scene, but I did want to draw your attention to it now. So I'm going to leave my main surface alone for a moment, and I'm going to take a look at my extrude surface. Now, as you can see, I don't have it enabled yet. If I click Enable Surface, I can begin modifying this. So first, I actually have to give my extrusion some depth, and I do that down here under Extrude Depth. And I'm just going to bring this up like so. And when I do that, you can't really see what's going on because it's extruding directly behind these letters. But if I come back over to Transform, and under Rotation, I'm just going to kind of rotate my Y-axis a little bit, you can see sort of what's going on here. So right now, I just have a white extrude surface. And let's just change that. I'm going to change that to maybe Color Picker and grab my nice deep maroon color in here. All right, and now you can see that reflected within my surface's properties. Let me just come down to rotation and rotate this through the full spectrum now. Okay, so you can sort of see what's going on here. I'm going to go back to my main surface here because I want to take a look at textures. Down here in the lower left, if I click on Textures and then come to Avid Textures, here are a bunch of different patterns that you can add to your text. So if I added metal, for example, you can see that when I rotate this through space, that it's sort of picking up that shininess, that reflection, a little bit more. If I added something like brushed metal, it would do the same thing. All right, and you can kind of see that texture applied. So I'll keep that in my back pocket. I'm going to actually undo Command-Z a couple times so that I get back to my regular gradient. And now what I'm going to do is actually add a light to my scene. Because right now this is just picking up the general light, but I can actually focus a light on this text. All right, so I'm going to move my surface's properties out of the way. And I'm going to open up my light properties right here. First of all, I need to actually add a light. And I do that right here with the Light tool. And I'll just click on this. And I have a light here, and as I drag this through the scene, you can see how it reacts. Right now, it's what's called a local light, so I can just leave that there, or I can change the light properties, which I'm going to do in the Light Properties window. So I'm going to change this from local to spot. And now I can actually position the spotlight wherever I want. So maybe about right there. All right, and you can actually change where the light is positioned as well. I can bring it closer and I can bring it further away for different effects. Now there are quite a few other windows that you could potentially work with to keep designing this title if you want. For example, shadow properties. All right, so let me just select my text. All right, and then right now I just have that drop shadow on, but maybe I want to change it to a projected shadow. And you can see here that that is the projected shadow from the light that I had. So if I click on my light tool, you can see how that responds. And again, all of these properties are completely animatable, so keep that in mind as you're designing your title. I think projected is a little extreme, so I'm going to go back to just a simple drop shadow. And I'm going to close shadow properties because I don't want to do much with that right now. All right, so we've taken a look at our edges and extrusion surfaces. We've played a bit with textures. We've added lights and we've changed some lighting elements. And now I'm just going to show you the basic of animating. So notice that there's an entire tool set dedicated to basic animation and expert animation. So I'm just going to change to basic animation here. And you can see here that I have a timeline and I can start adding keyframes and modify all of these characteristics. But I'm going to show you the ultra easy way to do this, and that's by using this button up here called animation mode. So I'm going to click on it, it lights up red, and now anything I do to change the way my title looks is going to animate. So for example, I have the playhead here at the beginning. By about here, maybe I want my text to sort of come toward me. So I want to modify the Z position. So I'm going to open up the transform properties and select my text. And let's bring the Z position forward. Okay, you can see that it's going through space, so it's affecting how the lighting is hitting it. And let's go back here and actually bring it backwards. Okay, so as we're going through here, I'm just going to play this. So that's kind of neat. It's coming towards us and the lighting is changing. Let's also just animate the lighting. So I'm going to click on my light tool and then I'm just going to come downstream here and let's just move the light over like this maybe. So now I've got several things happening at once. All right, so we can keep going. Animation mode is fun because you don't really have to set keyframes and be all intricate about it. You can be fairly organic. But let's just say that this is the title that I want to save back to Media Composer. I'm just going to come up to File and Save to Bin. Because I changed this to an animated title, it's going to be saved to a bin instead of to the timeline, which is fine. I'll say OK. There is a rendering process that happens with titles that have animation, so we'll have to wait through this. And I'm just going to call this Animate. And it's going in the 12.2 bin. Perfect. I'll save it. OK. And as I play through this, you can see that I have my reflective, growing, extruded text, and I'm ready to place it in my timeline if I want. So that is the tip of the iceberg of Avid Marquee. If you need something more complicated than the Avid title tool can do, you have some options with Avid if you don't want to go to a third-party program to create your titles. Marquee is one of them, and New Blue Titler Pro is the other. We'll get into that in just a bit, but next we'll just explore a couple more supplementary features in Avid Marquee.